Welcome to this lesson on Fundamentals of VFX. Today we will introduce you to compositing and the key ingredient, mattes. Many of you, I believe, have progressed to this field from film or video editing. Therefore, it may be useful to look at compositing from the perspective of editing. Aside from artistic pursuits, an editor places bits and pieces of footage shot at different times in different locations and creates one seamless story. In a similar way, a compositor or visual effects artist creates a believable reality within the bounds of a story's world by combining various elements together. Here we have a picture of a cloudy sky, and we want to add this airplane into the picture. It is not enough that we simply place the airplane on the picture for obvious reasons. The background has to be removed so that it can blend with the sky. This is where mattes come into the picture. Each image consists of red, green and blue color channels. You could think of a matte as a layer on top of the image which defines what areas are visible and what areas are hidden. Visible areas are displayed in white, hidden in black, and partially transparent areas are displayed in shades of gray. We apply the matte and the background is gone. Now we can properly composite the airplane on the picture. We scale it down to fit the source image and that's it. There are 4 methods to get a matte. The cleanest and easiest way is to render an image with its alpha channel from a 3D application. An alpha channel controls the transparency values of an image and is a separate channel from the red, green and blue color channels. Alpha channels are usually the main source of mattes. Needless to say, this method doesn't work on live footage. For live footage, the most common way is to pull a matte using a keyer. A keyer is a tool that removes a certain color or a specified range of colors from your image. The most common example of this method is green and blue screen filming. We will talk about this in more detail in a later lesson. The third way of creating a matte is by drawing a mask over the area you want to isolate. If the object moves, the mask has to be animated to follow it precisely. This method is traditionally called rotoscoping, and it is a very labor-intensive work indeed. However, new tools such as the Roto brush in Adobe After Effects have made it less strenuous. Masking is rather handy when you want to place an element either in front of something or behind something. Now the fourth way is by using another element as a matte. This scenery footage has no matte of its own. We can use the matte of this circle element for the footage. This is called a track matte and is a very powerful compositing technique. What makes it so powerful is that we can modify or even animate both elements separately. And of course we can add new elements to the composite. For instance, this background to create a more complex design. With these methods in mind, it is important to understand that getting a matte for live footage isn't always that easy. Be on your guard against blurry objects. They are one of the most difficult cases of matte extraction. A matte can be extracted from things that have very fine detail, or even from elements that are partially transparent if they have been properly filmed against a green or blue screen. Without a green screen, however, it can prove to be very difficult or even impossible to work with such footage. It would be virtually impossible to hand draw masks on this barbed wire in order to add an object behind it. The only thing we could try is to key out the background, but in this case it would not work since the range of brightness values in the background is too great. This is why much care should be taken to plan ahead of time how each shot is intended to be processed in post-production. This will often save you countless hours of unnecessary work. As a last note on this lesson, we will look at 2 mattes associated with 3D elements, depth matte and ID matte. The function of a depth matte is to store depth information. In a 3D space, X, Y, and Z coordinates determine the position of an object. In a flat 2D image, however, we have the X and Y coordinates, but no Z coordinate. A depth mat stores all the Z coordinate information as a flat image and allows you to composite elements so that they intersect with the 3D objects. Here is a simple example. As you can see, the smoke comes in front of the Z-axis, but behind the X-axis. The ID mat isolates each object in a scene using an object ID, or a material ID. This will come in handy because you can control and modify each element individually without affecting the rest. Therefore, you no longer need to waste time and energy rendering each element separately. To recapitulate today's lesson, mats are an integral part of compositing. Mats are like a layer on top of an image, obscuring the unwanted parts so that only the desired element is visible. Without mats, you cannot properly composite elements together. 3D objects can be rendered with an automatically generated mat. For live footage, you must either use a keyer or draw a mask to get a mat. Depending on your footage, this might or might not work out as how you intended. That is why you must plan ahead of time. Depth mats and ID mats are useful when integrating 3D elements into the composite. Thank you for joining us on this lesson on Fundamentals of VFX. We hope to see you soon again on our next lesson.